Test. All right. One more. Just say mic check 1, 2, each of you.
Mic check 1, 2. Mic check, woodchuck.
Mic check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2.
Test. Mic check. All right. Cool.
So nervous.
Jesus.
Fuck you.
Attaboy. He already gets how we operate around here. He's already getting the game.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Larry up in Alaska. Just got caught up on the last couple of podcasts you guys put out. Excited about you guys maybe planning a trip up here. The last time I drove on the Alcan myself was back in 2003 when I got out of the Army. Me and my wife drove down to the lower 48 to visit my parents, and that was in November. From what I remember, it's pretty modern. The fuel situation wasn't really that much of a problem. I know we were pretty worried about it. We packed in like 5-gallon cans of fuel in the back of the truck, and we ended up not using any of them. As long as you take advantage of all the gas stops along the way, it won't really be a problem. I remember it was all paved. I know in the summertime they do a lot of road construction, and that might mean you might have to run into some unpaved roads while they're stripping up the asphalt and putting down new asphalt. But for the most part, I think it's not too bad. You probably don't want to go on your bikes in the April, May months. I know that we can still have some snow and ice on the roads, and especially in the mountains, the high elevations in April and May. What I suggest you guys do is pick up a milepost. The website is www.themilepost.com, and that's the Bible for the Alcan. I think it shows maps, different routes, and it shows all of the fuel stops along the way, so you can plan your route. I know that's what they recommended to us in the military. If we were going to make the drive, they would say make sure you have one of those milepost books. I think they come out every year. And I'm running out of time here, so I'll stop and I'll leave another message. Hey guys, what's up? This is Larry. This is part 2 of my Alcan voicemail. Keep in mind, the last time I drove on the Alcan was back in 2003, and it was winter. It was November. One thing about the Alcan I remember was you'd see a sign on the side of the road that said like Buffalo crossing or Caribou crossing, next 15 miles, and we'd damn near see one every time we saw one of those signs. It's not like in the lower 48 where you see the deer crossing sign and you never see a deer. Well, and on the Alcan, if you saw a sign that said there were animals nearby, you were going to see those animals. That was pretty cool. Another thing about traveling through Canada is I don't think you'll be able to travel armed. I know you guys being Leos, that might be a issue for you. If you want to travel armed, I think your best bet would be to take the ferry. That way you'd never actually be on Canadian soil. You would get on in the U.S. and get off in the U.S. So, those are some options for you guys to think about on your trip. I know I had a little bit of a problem at the border back when I got out of the military and was driving down. I had done some research and was under the understanding I could take handguns across the border as long as I declared them, and that was wrong. And I ended up having to turn around and find a gun shop to mail them down to the lower 48. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, you guys just need to keep that in mind. Probably won't be able to travel armed, and need to maybe consider taking the ferry if you want to travel armed. Anyway, enjoying the podcast. You guys keep it up, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.
Oh yeah, once you've had Rick Rack, you'll never go back to Ultimate Motorcycle Luggage Rack Solution. Forget those messy straps and bungee cords. That's right, go strapless with a Rick Rack quick attach luggage system and quality bag. Head over right now, lawabidingbiker.com/store. Get hooked up now. And if you don't think we save voicemails, we do, because we want to thank Larry Baxter from up north. He sent that back in November 2013.
Holy moly.
And I have been waiting, seriously. I knew someday we would be doing this episode. I'm going to tell you all about it in a second, guys. but you obviously get the gist by the title, and you get the gist by the voicemails I just played, kind of what we're going to be talking about. We do have a special guest, and we got a lot coming at you right now. Hey, Bikeaholics, 03D has a wide variety of innovative products for your Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Affordable chrome lighting and comfort products. These guys ride and support riders just like you. Head over lawabidingbiker.com/store and check out their full line. Check out our full line of 03D products. We definitely appreciate your support over there. Hey, Bikeaholics and listeners alike, the show is still going strong because of a lot of hard work and your support, of course. Thanks to all those loyal listeners and true friends of the show that have supported us or are supporting us. For less than a coffee a month, you can help support us too and put a little fuel in the law-abiding biker gas tank to make sure this show keeps moving on down the road. So, calling all law-abiding bikers, head over to our Patreon page and take action today. You can do so at lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon, Patreon. Oh, did I mention there's benefits too? From all your friends at lawabidingbiker.com, we appreciate each and every one of you. God bless and ride safe. Oh, should we do this, Popeye?
Let's do it, buddy.
Cue it. Right there, baby. I'm stoked.
Me too.
Stoked about this show.
Oh, we got a bunch to talk about today.
Oh my God. Welcome back, you freaking Bikeaholics. This is the podcast for the motorcycle majority, the Big MM, also known as the
99%ers, baby.
Large and in charge of the motorcycle scene more than any time in history. By listening to this very podcast, you are part of what we call the
Biker Revolution,
yeah,
bitches.
Don't miss out on the revolution. We do have just one question for you. What are you waiting for, Bikeaholics? Mount up.
Let us take you on another wild-ass ride.
Oh, yeah, right on cue. Welcome back, Bikeaholics. Ryan Erlacher here, your host of the Law Abiding Biker Podcast and your
high-tech redneck.
That's right, Popeye in the house. And I want to thank Popeye. I'll just give him credit up front for this episode because he did know that it was something that we wanted to talk about. We've talked about it all the way back to 2013. We must have talked about it on a podcast because Larry Baxter from Canada left those awesome voicemails.
Larry Beans Baxter. He's been around a while.
Yeah, a long time since the beginnings of Law Abiding Biker Media. Clearly.
Loyal friend and true.
Because we started,
Bob Barker would say.
I think in March 2013 or something. So that was November of 2013. So thank you, Popeye. Made the ride down from the Wenatchee area. And we have special guest in the studio. We will have him introduce himself here in a moment. And yes, he's a little bit nervous because it's his first
nervous. I'm so nervous. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh, it's nice, dude. And Popeye's not going to give him any slack. He gets up here on a mic. He not only gets live, but he's, not a podcast is one thing, then live on top of it. So I feel for you and I appreciate you.
That was the greatest thing because he's like, hey, bro. You guys might notice when he starts talking here, he says, bro, all the time. Hey, bro.
He's like me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, bro, do you think we can not do live? He's like, I'd be more comfortable. Oh, yeah, shit, that'll probably be okay. Well, then he made the mistake like a week later going, yeah, that'd probably be okay to go live. All right, fuck it. We'll go live.
It's done. You texted me. I'm like,
exactly.
I said, done. Awesome.
Mistake.
Oh, we got a good episode for you guys. This is probably going to be a 2-part series. We're going to see how it goes. Of course, we are live via YouTube to our private patrons, our exclusive patron member access. If you're listening in podcast format later, you really need to get hooked up, become a patron. You get access to a whole bunch of things to include these live events where we're chatting right now with our patrons. They're going to be part of this discussion, and we just love connecting and getting to know you guys deeper. So that's the only way you get access to these live events. One more thing, make sure you check your patron accounts. We put it out where you can get access also on the live page, lawabidingbiker.com/live. Sign up for that email list. The only emails you get on that list is when we go live. It's a second way. Plus, we post it in the private patron-only Facebook group, which you guys all have access to too. So I hit you to come in 3 different ways so that you always know when the live events are coming. Make sure you update your patron accounts too, guys. If you have a Gmail account or a Google account or anything, you have a YouTube account, basically. You just don't know it. You don't upload to it. But if you can add that link, your YouTube channel in your patron accounts, that way when you're commenting on the public YouTube videos, I actually get a notification because we definitely want to hear from our patrons first, and I can see that you're a patron member and that you're the one actually commenting. So that's very helpful. I have a new free video we always want to announce. It's been out for a little bit, but I definitely want to announce it. But you know what? We appreciate, and what's going on? There we go. I just want to thank the following people and for making this possible. Not 3 people, but a few people. Go ahead, Popeye.
All right, here we go. We got Dave Swenson of New London, Minnesota. Is that MN? Oh, yeah, okay. Just making sure. Donald Keeble of Wabeno, Wisconsin. James Bird of Winston, West Virginia.
Joe Botello of Sugarland, Texas. Phil Slater of Hamworthy Pool, Dorset. Hamworthy is a parish and inner suburb of Poole in Dorset, England. How cool is that? Ansel Watley of Columbus, Georgia. Worldwide. Go, Popeye.
Don Mendham of Lebanon, New Hampshire. He's a top-tier member. Mile Rains, right here in our home state of Everett, or he's in Everett, Washington. He's a top-tier member as well. And Joe Stallman of Perrysburg, Ohio.
Thanks so much. lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon is how you guys get hooked up. I just already talked to you about a bunch of the benefits, including this live event. So they are sponsors of the show, as our patrons are sponsors of all our shows. So thank you very much. The new free video real quick, and we're going to get right into the main topic, which is going to be all about adventure riding. We have a special guest in the studio, Yukon Territory, the Alcan Highway. And again, it's going to be so deep that I think we're going to end up in a 2-part episode. The Speed and Strength Rust and Redemption Armored Moto shirt review. I did it some time ago. It's actually quite an older video. Many of you have already seen it. I will link to it in the description for this episode, lawabidingbiker.com/ and whatever episode this number is. If you haven't, or just search the YouTube channel, it has a lot of views. It is the shirt that I wore last year to Canada on our 7-day trip and on our 10-day Midwest trip this year. I wear that thing daily. I wear it all the way from cold weather all the way into 100+ degrees. Obviously, when I stop the bike, it's a thicker shirt. It's armored. It doesn't look like a motorcycle shirt. What is like I like about it, but it does have armor in it, and it gives you some extra protection. Yet you can still be stylish and not look like the standard biker. All right, if you're not into looking like the standard Harley rider. All right, so here we go. Special guest in the studio. This is a subject that I just want to say I didn't do a lot of research for. The reason is, guys, if you don't know, if I haven't talked about it on the podcast before, I actually am highly interested in adventure riding and the dual sport type deal. The reason I haven't dove into it, of course, I've got Harleys. I'm always going to love riding my Harleys, and I'm always going to love the road cross-country trips that we do together, the brotherhood and all that kind of stuff. That's my passion. But I work 2 full-time jobs, obviously the Leo job, and then I do lab media actually more than full-time. I simply don't have time to take on another activity. And that's why I haven't really, I'm looking at probably when I retire, getting into a little bit more adventure riding too, and doing some of that. So hopefully when I retire, that'll bring some extra stuff to the channel. And I know some of the guys here, Big Daddy Kane is interested in it. You know, we've talked, and I know some of the other guys too.
I'm always interested in different riding.
You too, Oscar is into it. Oscar's like when I retire
I'm going to have
too.
a dirt bike by next summer.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm getting back into it.
See, I need to, it's time for me.
Yeah,
I totally want to ride dirt bikes, dude.
My boy's 5, got him on. He's on 2 wheels and stuff, and so I want to be able to go out and ride in the woods with him.
Dude.
So I'm going to get go out and get a dirt bike.
Oh, you got to tell me what you get. I've always wanted to I haven't ridden dirt bikes for so long, but I would love to. I need more time in a day. We need more time in a day, dude. That's my problem, dude.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that when you get that and stuff too. That'll be another good episode.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Before I wreck it or something.
Correct. Well, no, wreck it first. Come in a cast, dude. So at least we have
stories then.
That's a good hook, dude. A picture of you with the cast. Yeah, you got to tune in.
Exactly. Exactly.
Special guest Popeye brought down. Popeye organized this because he has somebody that is a friend of his and that recently went on a trip. We're going to dive in. So what I'm saying is I'm interested in this, but I have a lot of questions, and some of them might be really stupid. That's how little I know about adventure riding, even though I'm very interested in it. So it's really is just going to be him educating us today on a recent trip he took. First of all, I would like to give the mic to him. Can you please introduce yourself? Give what information you feel that you want to give the community. You know, first name, last name, that's up to you. And, you know, kind of what your background is a little bit, not necessarily in writing, but, you know, you're in the military. I know that and stuff like that. So just give a brief synopsis, if you would, so the audience can get to know you a little bit.
All right, here's where your monologue starts. We're out.
All right. See, I'm going to go.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, you guys. I've been looking forward to coming on and talking to both of you guys about this trip. Well, my name is Adam Musgrove. And I actually work with Popeye.
Hold on here. One of us fucking works. I haven't figured out which you do yet, but one of us works
like that. Okay.
There's the first zinger. First zinger of the show.
This is going to be a fun show. I can tell already. I work with this clown shoe over here. We work at the same agency here in Washington State. And I've been in law enforcement for about 12 years now. Before that, I was in the Navy. I served in the Navy for 10 years of active duty.
A seaman.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for serving, brother.
Oh, thank you,
both of you.
I appreciate that. And I still serve in the Navy Reserve. I've been serving in the Navy for about 22 years now.
Wow.
So I'm gonna.
God, you're old as fuck.
Yes, I am.
He doesn't look it.
I'm gonna be wrapping it up here in a couple more years. I'm trying to make that last step up to Master Chief, and once I do that, if I can't do that, then I'm gonna wrap it and call it a career.
Yeah.
So
you better be wrapping it when you're in the Navy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh my God, dude. We're gonna get the Navy jokes.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the chat here real quick. Mm-hmm. So I hope you guys are excited about this episode. Thank you for that introduction. And awesome. So let's dive right in. Because we've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to guide it a little bit.
Sure.
Just because I could even get off track. So why don't you start with telling us just briefly, you took a trip, an adventure motorcycle trip to the Yukon Territory, Alcan Highway. How many days did this consist of? And you don't have to really say where you went, but how many days did it consist of? And when was it?
Yeah, it was a 14-day trip. We started off on August 6th and came back on August 19th.
This year, nice. So this is very recent.
Very recent, yeah.
Okay.
Very recent.
Nice. All right, Popeye, and if you find anything that you want to jump in and
jump in.
piggyback off me. So,
yeah.
How long you been adventure riding?
I've been adventure riding since about 2011 is when we got into riding BMWs. I actually got inspired by watching a documentary. Many of you guys might have seen it, but it was called Long Way Round.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, it's
how long did you say you've been adventure riding?
About 2011 is when I got my first BMW.
What are you riding right now?
Okay, so I ride a 2015 BMW R1200 GS Adventure. It's an off-road tour. For those of you that are not
Hang on, we're going to look it up. Okay. We'll say it again, BMW.
It's a BMW R1200 GS Adventure.
Okay, go on, and I'll look it up while you're doing that. I'll pull some pictures up here, some images. I see it out here. You wrote it here today, so I didn't get time yet to go around it. Which picture? Is this a good picture of it?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's a great picture of it.
Let's pull that up right there.
So how big of a bike is that?
So that's it's a 1200. Mm-hmm. And for those that are not familiar with the adventure model, okay, can I talk?
No.
Please do that. Yeah. Please just give it right back to him.
I know. I've known him long enough. I gotta do that. He likes to get punched in the nose like this. So.
You should see him down here with Sarge. Oh, God.
I've heard. But it's a shaft-driven, air-liquid cooled. It's a 4-stroke, 6-speed. It's got 125 horsepower, about 92 pounds-feet of torque. It comes with just shy of an 8-gallon tank. If you're going like 55 miles an hour, that's about a 450-mile range. We didn't get that by any means. We get about 400 miles with a 2-gallon extra tank that we brought along with us.
How many miles? Sorry, I'm listening.
450.
450 if you were to go 55.
On a how big tank?
On just shy of 8 gallons.
Just shy of 8.
That's a good size tank.
Just shy of 8 gallons.
It's a little further. Because what are we running, like 5.5?
Yeah, our tanks, they're 6s, and we're getting 240 at max. 240.
Yeah.
That's
remember that headwind coming into Idaho?
Yeah, no,
we're
like
not 150.
Well, we never even came close to getting that kind of mileage because of the speeds and the distance we were covering. We just never really got anywhere near that. But it's the adventure bike. You can get two different models. They have the actual GS. That's basically the street version, and then the adventure is for it actually comes with like crash bars and 37 millimeter forks, 17-inch rear wheel and a 19-inch front. It has a higher clearance than the regular GS, and it has a lower center of gravity, so it's perfectly designed for kind of getting you in and out of some pretty hairy areas when you get in off road.
And not so much being good for like highway riding, I would assume.
It does pretty well on the highway as well, but you really. It does well both. I mean, I could shoot down the highway, and I was keeping up with you barely, but I was.
Oh, I
keeping
thought you were
up
talking
with
about the other model on that one.
Oh no, yeah, the other one is basically strictly an on the road highway.
And it's the GS versus the
It's the
GST.
GS versus the GS Adventure.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, a lot of people will buy them and actually turn them into adventure bikes as well, just by adding in the extra protection and whatnot on those. But it is it can carry, the big thing is it can carry 480 pounds with the rider and luggage. So that's kind of when you look at pictures of guys.
So if you got a big old girl, that might be the one you want to.
You might want to think about it eventually.
Yeah.
No shit, dude.
Right, yeah. But it comes, you can get the hard luggage with it as well. And, 480 pounds, I think I was pushing every bit of all of that with everything that we were taking with the gear to go where we were going. As we get into it, I'll tell you a little bit about having to try to lift that thing up when it goes over. So
Definitely want to hear that.
Now, do these come with the stickers, or is that a requirement later to put every sticker of everywhere you've ever fucking been on the thing?
Oh,
Is
my
that-
God. Now we're going to
yeah,
get...
no, you know what? It's one of those things that I just got into, and it was just kind of a fun thing to start tagging the panniers on the side there with.
I like tagging stuff, but not necessarily
Yeah.
stickers.
Going downhill.
Okay, there we
Going
go.
downhill.
Just going down the toilet here, really quick. Sorry.
Is
everybody.
that seriously? So you bring up a good question. You're just busting a chops. Or is that a venture rider thing? Do they put stickers? Is that what all venture, or is it a thing within the industry?
Not everybody does, but a lot of them you'll see that it's just kind of like a bragging rights to
Right.
walk up on somebody that who's got an adventure bike and kind of see
who's got the biggest dick type of thing.
It's kind of like kind of like the guys that walk around with 50,000 pins on their vest.
Yeah, right.
You get a pin
Yeah.
from every
all
right.
kinds of flair.
Right, flare. The vest weighs like 35 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's just, it's kind of cool to walk up and just kind of see where guys have ridden it, kind of like a resume on a bike and kind of tell a lot about a biker and a bike and where it's been. And
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that.
yeah.
I guess I never paid attention. That's what the stickers are. So that's a lot
Exactly.
lighter in pins, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
it is, right?
So let me ask this. You picked this adventure riding up in 2011, and did you ride before that? I mean, were you into motorcycles? I mean, what's your motorcycle background?
Yeah, I've ridden dirt bikes since I was a little kid. When I was on deployment, I really wanted to get onto a street style bike.
Get up on that mic.
Oh, yep, sorry about that.
No, listen to that modulation. Nice.
All right. Yeah. So
Producer will appreciate that, Matt.
So I've ridden dirt my whole life, and when I came back from deployment, I wanted to get a street bike, and I ended up getting a Suzuki Boulevard when I came back from deployment. And
I've ridden one of those. Yeah, cool.
and it wasn't my style of riding. I went on a 400-mile ride, did the North Cascades Loop, and after the end of that ride, I just knew that this wasn't my style of riding. Like I said, I was inspired by the Long Way Round, where they rode 15,000 miles from London to New York across Europe. And
That's the movie you were referencing,
Yeah.
Long Way Around. I
Long Way
wrote that
Round.
down. I'll put it in the show notes. Is it you can rent it or something? Or?
Oh yeah, you can
Okay.
rent it. There's a book on it, and it's two actors, Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor. They rode two BMW Adventures, and they actually have done two movies, and I understand they're making a third one.
Oh, no
now.
shit. Okay.
Yeah, they did Long Way Round, where they went from
They're documentary films.
documentary
Okay.
films, and
Okay.
and they rode from London across Europe, across Asia, all the way over to the Road of Bones in Russia, and then they flew their bikes to Alaska, and then they rode from Alaska all the way down, all the way through to New York.
Lucky bastards.
So
That's probably what they do for a
That'd be
living,
fun.
huh?
Well, they're actors.
They are actors.
Charlie Borman and
Oh.
Ewan McGregor is like in.
I've heard that
Yeah,
name.
he's been in Star Wars and those.
So
movies.
they're actors, yet it was a real documentary
It
film.
was a real documentary.
Oh, see, that's where I was confused. I'm like, is this a Hollywood
Right,
movie or is it a docu? Because I do
that's
know.
what
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a documentary, but obviously they have the money to have the follow on. The trucks that follow on with that.
pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's actually really an entertaining thing to watch, and they do the Long Way Down, where I believe they started up in Scotland, and then they rode all the way down to at the tip of Africa. And so that's their second one, and I understand they're just coming out with a third one now.
So they got money to do it.
They've got
time
money
to
to
burn,
do it,
and
and
they're
do
getting
it.
paid in a documentary film.
None
to
of
do it.
which we have.
Bastards.
No money, no time.
Exactly. Which is why I haven't done it.
Yeah.
And that's
my
what
God.
inspired me.
That was the
to
movie
see
that inspired
yeah,
you,
it
huh?
inspired me to really get into it and dig into it. So talking with my buddy Chris, who I go on these trips with, we just decided in 2011 that we were gonna give it a go and give it a shot. So
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I don't know if you have if you're married with kids.
I am.
And she supports this kind of behavior.
He does. He's okay with it.
She does. Yeah. She knows it's good for me to unplug. You know, as an LEO.
He's being nice in case she listens.
Yeah.
You know, she
Is
does
your
support-
wife going to listen to this?
Yeah, she probably will.
Okay, 'cause
yeah.
I can tell him backing off.
Yes.
Like, well, I mean, she's good. She's a good lady. She's
She's a wonderful lady who I love very much.
The last
mother of my children.
Yes.
She's lovely.
last time I was down here, I really stuck my foot in my mouth.
Yes, you did. We're still paying for that
Oh,
because I got to edit that. I had to make special notes to edit some of that shit out.
Perfect.
We digress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Popeye gets in trouble sometimes with his mouth. Did you know that about him?
No, not at all. I'm just learning this now. We've got some stories.
That's awesome. So now I think that's exciting. I'll have to go watch those documentaries, but I am very intrigued, and that is on my, some people call it a bucket list. My wife doesn't like that. She said it should be a life list because bucket list sounds bad.
Right.
So glass half full. It's my life list. And I think that's just a badass bike. Why did you pick a BMW for adventure riding? I mean, there's a lot of different adventure
The
bikes. out there,
German
right?
Harley-Davidson.
Right. The Harley-Davidson are German. Yeah.
Well, you know, to be honest, it had a lot to do with that documentary. Actually, if you watch the movie, it actually they started off with picking KTM, but KTM actually didn't believe that they would make it, and so they didn't want their bikes on a documentary with guys that felt that they couldn't make it. So their actual first choice was KTM, and then
Now, does KTM started? I'm just because I'll miss this point. KTM. Now I know their bikes. They've got the dual purpose bikes. A lot of guys ride them in dirt and motor. Is that their adventure bike, or do they have something similar that looks like this? That's an adventure series.
They do have an adventure series, and it's one that when you're talking about this in different forums and whatnot, it's usually talking about the BMW versus the adventure bike from KTM, and so they.
How long has KTM been around? You know?
Hang on, before he answers that. Yawn in the thing says BMW equals bring more wallet.
That is a fact. Absolutely 100% a fact. If you're going to buy one of those and you're going to take it to BMW you better bring your wallet.
And I want to talk about that later about servicing and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to as well.
We're going everywhere. I love this though. This is just the conversation. That's why we don't really stay on track sometimes. And if I don't let you answer something, go back and answer it. How much does this bike go for out the door?
Out the door, you're probably looking north of about $23,000, and that's
cheap compared to a Harley.
But
right, no shit.
You know? And that's not with with the baggage, the luggage and all that kind of stuff.
And everybody that gets one of these is getting the luggage. So give me the price. If you add the shit that you're going to need to adventure.
How much was your bike? How much did you get bent over for?
So, well, to get luggage on there, you're looking at about $500-600 per bag. And so I have the top case on there as well. So you're looking at north of $1,500 to $1,700, depending upon if you went to some of the aftermarket stuff.
So add another $2,000 to the 22 price tag, and you're up at 24 at least now, plus tax.
Now with these type of bikes, do guys start putting exhaust on them and tuning them like you would a Harley?
Well, there are exhausts that are made for these bikes as well. But just like anything, if there's a company in Seattle, am I allowed to say?
Please
companies?
do.
Okay,
yep.
yeah. There's a company in Seattle. It's called TourTech. It's TourTech USA. It's actually the only the hub is in Seattle for North America. Is actually in Seattle. If you can go there, just a little kind of hole in the wall, but they do a lot of business and you can buy everything you can imagine for dual sport adventure bikes. And so guys do get that, exhaust, but for myself and my buddy Chris, we've kept them in business by buying a lot of armor for the bike. So when you're getting ready to go off road with those things, there's armor and all kinds of stuff you can buy for these things.
What armor on the bike?
Well, just anything you can imagine. Extra, crash bars, because you got to remember, if you're going to go off road, you take the chance of dropping the bike, and there's a lot of expensive components on the bike that if they are not protected by some sort of armor on there, you could really do some damage. And so they've got the engineers out there that can find ways to protect just about anything you could imagine. And
so that's interesting, which brings up a point, Popeye, is so you're saying that, with a Harley-Davidson, and again, it's not adventure riding, it's totally different, but I'm just relating it to that. We have an array of aftermarket products I mean, literally like insane. What you're saying is there's some special company that's got to fabricate shit like BMW doesn't make this shit for their adventure bikes? That's weird.
BMW does make some stuff, but these companies have gone above and beyond and just have made a living off of making others.
You got that too
parts.
with Harley then.
Right.
You got a bunch of different companies that are making shit
True.
for Harley, as well as Harley making their own shit.
And it's,
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking more it was fabbing for your bike, but they're selling those aftermarket parts in packages and like, okay.
Oh yeah, no,
thank
absolutely.
you for cleaning that up.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was thinking there's a company that you took your bike in there and they fab shit.
It's already been done.
My
It's
bad.
already been done, and they sell it for all kinds of bikes. But it's funny you mentioned something. If you don't mind me going back for a second,
Please do.
You said that Harley-Davidson is now getting into the adventure bike field, and
I'm excited for that coming out in 20. You know which one I'm talking about.
It's a beautiful looking bike, actually. I was actually really impressed for Harley. I mean, I bust Popeye's balls a lot got riding Harleys. Now I can never own one because I go back and forth. I bust their balls so much I can never own one. These guys would never let me live it down. So now I kind of shot myself in the foot. But that
what were you telling me on the way down here?
On which part?
When we were leaving the gas station.
Oh, it looked like Sons of Anarchy.
No, not that part.
Which part? Which part?
God, dude.
Refresh me.
No, he's just saying, he's like, man, that is a beautiful bike.
No,
he's like,
I'm
as
not
much
lying.
shit as I give you. He's like, that is a beautiful bike.
It is a good looking bike, man. It is a good looking bike.
I'm pulling a picture of it. Do you guys remember what it's called?
There you go.
I just recently heard about it. So
details of the HD says the Livewire, the Pan America. And the Pan America is launching. So that's the Pan America.
Yeah, it's a good looking bike.
I want that.
Yeah.
Like bad.
What is that going for? Does that have a price on it
I
yet?
don't think so because it's not even coming out till 2020.
Oh, okay.
So they haven't put a price tag on it yet. As far as I know, if somebody in the chat, you guys, thanks for being in the chat. If you guys know if you've heard a price possibility on that adventure bike from Hardy, let us know and we'll spit it out here on the podcast. But I can't find. Yeah, in 2020 you'll be able to do that on a Hog. So you actually like that, huh? You think it's a player in the market?
I do, but just like anything for the first year model, I would probably wait a couple years personally.
They're going to learn a lot of things.
They're going to learn a lot, and I think that they're going to find that once guys get those, that there's just a couple of things, just like BMW or any other bike, the first year model of anything, you want to kind of wait for it to get some bugs worked out.
Good advice. And it's and to be fair, that's Harley's first step into the adventure world, so they're going to learn a lot. It's almost like a beta bike.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So they can figure some shit out and go, hey, yeah, we gotta.
There's a market for it though. There's a market for it, and it will sell well. I'm confident that when that bike comes out, people will want American made, and they'll be all over that.
Shit,
bike.
it might be going to China now though.
It might be.
No, it's not. That's good point. But yes,
Trump's gonna shut that one down. Huh?
Yeah. Well, no,
he was all over their
we
ass.
actually did an episode on that. Me and Matt
I know.
Pass.
I heard. I listened to it.
They're gonna move some stuff overseas, but only for their bikes they sell overseas. Everything they make in America will stay here, sell here. It's just that it's too expensive for them to sell here, and then the tariffs moving it over there. So all their bikes they sell in other countries, they're going to manufacture in those countries so they can sell in those countries to keep the price down for customers and all that kind of stuff. But those bikes that they sell here will still be made at their plants here. They just may make them. That's kind of what
I think that'd fuck them if they moved.
Yeah, it might not be good.
No.
And there's a lot of talk about that subject matter for sure right now. So, all right. So, good. Where were we? We were talking about.
We're not even day one yet. We're all,
we're almost done here.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. He was asking me, he's like, dude, do you think we can fill an hour? I'm like, we'll get so far off in the fucking weeds. We'll be having to cut it down to 2 hours.
Many questions.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever own another? What year is your adventure bike? You said you started in 2011. Did you buy this in 2011 and you've kept it all these years?
I have a 2015 right now, and this is my third BMW that I've owned. So I have a 2000.
Why do you have to own so many? Are they not reliable?
What? Here we go. Okay. No, it's just the technology. Every year they come out with it seems like they do something that I'm sure just like any with Harley they come out with something that maybe it's some touch screen on the something that you just are like, man, now I have to have that. And so that's kind of the same way with me. It's like you get it, and then the very next year the next model has something that yours doesn't have. So it's like now you spend your time thinking about that one thing that you wish your bike had, even though you don't need it and you never needed it before.
You're an American.
But now you need
it all of a sudden.
So
it's kind of like when you walk into Costco. I didn't need that. I need that.
Yeah.
I need that now because it's on a shelf. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Riddle me this, because you're in this adventure riding world. I know you like BMW. What other, and you said the KTM might not make this. What would be your, if you couldn't afford a BMW, what would be your second pick for a adventure bike for all the listeners out there?
Well, if I couldn't afford a BMW, there's other bikes that are very competitive with this, but probably would be looking at a Triumph Tiger is another bike that I really I like the looks of it. I like the performance, and there's been a lot of good write-ups on that. But if you were talking about price point, a more affordable type of adventure bike would be the Honda Africa Twin. I'm starting to see a lot of those out on the road.
I've seen that one before.
Yeah. The Honda Africa Twin is Honda's step into the adventure market. I've actually seen quite a few of those on the road. On our trip there, we actually saw quite a few Africa Twins. You start getting north far enough and you start seeing less and less road bikes, and you start seeing more and more of just the adventure bikes, because you're getting into some rougher territory as far as road conditions and whatnot, which we'll probably get a chance to get into a little bit.
Yeah.
We might talk about the trip at some point.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see.
No, I like these
Maybe.
questions. This is good.
This is leading up, because these are all the questions that I would want to sit down when I do start someday when I retire and I want to do adventure riding. These are everything I would want to get somebody like him and just soak it. And we may do follow-up episodes on this too, dude. I love it.
If I may, I started off with an XR 650L, and that was kind of my first leap into a dual sport for riding on the road. And that's just a 650. It's a dirt bike.
Who makes that?
Honda.
Honda. Okay.
Honda makes that. And then the other one that's very popular is the Kawasaki. It's the KLR.
Yes.
And the KLR is...
Big Daddy bought a KLR.
Oh, really?
I think he has a KLR.
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Wow.
Yeah, he has it. Yep.
You hear a lot of guys talking about riding KLRs to Alaska.
Who makes KLR? It is just
Kawasaki.
Kawasaki.
Yeah, Kawasaki, and they make the KLR 650. And
yes, right there.
And a funny story was I was actually up there, and I go, heard a lot of guys talking about riding a KLR to Alaska, and I'm just thinking, we're going to speeds of 80, 90 sometimes up these roads, and I'm just like, man, there's just no way.
Because that's the speed limit.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, I just caught that.
Yeah. This is law-abiding biker. I was doing 50, but no, just you get up there in some of those areas, and it would just be very difficult for a KLR. And just as I'm saying that, I'm not even exaggerating here. Just as I'm saying that, I see two KLRs coming down, fully decked out, and they were coming down from the north there. So, I mean, it is a very popular bike. It
doesn't look from the picture as beefy as a BMW. It's definitely a slim. It's probably cheaper, a lot cheaper.
Well, yeah, look at the MSRP
cheaper.
there, $66.99.
A lot cheaper.
Oh shit!
Under $7,000 for a brand new bike. You kidding me?
It is basically a modified dirt bike.
An entry level adventure bike, is that fair?
It's an entry level. It's just that's a great bike to learn on. But then again, guys are riding these to Prudhoe Bay.
Right.
They are riding these to Prudhoe Bay, and they're getting there.
Well, you probably don't feel as bad if you beat the shit out of that one. As compared
I'll get
to
a new one when I get back.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
You beat the shit out of a $30,000 bike, you're crying at the end of it. This one, you dump it half a dozen times on those shitty roads. You're like, fuck it, whatever,
For sure. But I mean, they're great. They're very popular. This is probably the most popular dual sport bike out there. You'll see out there is the KLR 650.
Really?
It is. It is a very popular.
And you classify, because you said two things there, which is interesting, because I'm always wondering, you said dual sport. Mm-hmm. Is that the same as an adventure bike or not? Because, you have the dumbed down KTMs that they're dual sport, but they look like a dirt bike. They would be uncomfortable after 20 miles. You'd be like, oh my God,
I'm not giving you the actual definition because I don't know, but I will tell you that when I'm talking,
I think it's subjective.
Yeah. When I'm talking dual sport, I'm thinking more of the KLR or the XR 650L. When I'm talking adventure bikes, I'm talking about like the off-road touring bikes,
Gotcha.
like the Triumph Tiger, the Africa Twin, the BMW Adventure, these bikes. So that's kind of the differentiate that.
And I think it is. I don't think there is an actual definition. I just wanted to get yours. Sure. I think it's definitely very, very subjective.
You know what I think you'd probably need if you're taking one of our bikes on a trip like this?
One of our Harleys?
Yeah, one of our Harleys. You'd probably need a good luggage system.
Oh my God, dude. Look at this guy.
You know?
Look at this guy, dude. He's straight up. Well, you know what I would do, Popeye? That's right.
No, why don't you tell me about it?
Are you searching for the easiest and quickest detachable luggage system for your motorcycle? Rick Rack has just what you're looking for. Forget all those frustrating straps and bungee cords that can come loose and slap your paint.
Don't slap that paint.
Don't slap it. Check out one of the Rick Rack's awesome quick attach strapless luggage system. That's right, for your street glides, your road glides, your full touring for on top of that trunk. That's right, this father-son team has designed something really special you can't find anywhere else. Yep, and these guys ride, so they truly understand the needs of bikers. The Rick Rack Quick Attach system is strong, durable, and secure with a lockable system. Also, check out their full line of quality touring bags to accompany your quick detach system. Once you use Rick Rack, you'll never go back. What are you waiting for, Bikeaholics? Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Check out our full line of Rick Rack bags and system, guys.
Oh, yeah, Rick Rack.
That was a nice lead-in, bro. You're coming a professional. He does good until he keeps cracking beers. By the second episode, he won't help with shit.
Can I just say that this is like legit? I mean, I was just impressed right there.
Wasn't that a nice lead? He got me on that. I was like, I didn't know he was looking up there because I was opening the script, and he's like, "Oh my God, dude,
this is a legit studio."
Downhill goes, or the second episode, like said, they go downhill.
It's like golfing. You go golfing with somebody, and they drink the first 2 beers. They're hitting pretty good, and then you're like, "You're a shit show." By the 4th hole, you're like, "You're a shit show now." That's Popeye.
I'm extremely impressed with this. For those of you listening there, this is a legit studio here. This is like Joe Rogan experience level podcast studio.
Dude, that's cool.
Here.
And
I am serious.
I'm glad you brought that up. So we're going to get off track again, but that's funny because I love getting new guys in the studio. He had listened to the podcast and was familiar with it, and he had heard of the studio, but he never saw a picture of it or video or anything like that. So he got down here, and he doesn't obviously remember the days when I started in the first 3 episodes were in my daughter's closet for soundproofing, and I had an iPad and a microphone. Then we moved to the small office, and then to the bonus room, and then out here. But so, that's interesting.
Legit,
straight up
man.
legit,
it's
man.
legit here.
Yeah. We should have took him back in the sweatshop just for old times' shit. He'd have been, I'm never doing that shit again. The guys are more willing to come down here now.
Yeah.
Beer,
absolutely.
A fridge full of IPA, hundreds of dollars of IPAs and air conditioning. And
it's not good how close the whiskey is.
There is a tray right over yonder with whiskey.
Wheels on the damn thing. You can roll it back and forth.
No doubt, dude.
Oh, shit.
All right, let's keep moving. We're doing good. So we finished off with bikes. So I think that's a good, unless you have any follow-up questions. So you can put, like Harley, thousands of dollars of parts and armor, like you call it, and all this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Right? And then let's talk, before we get into the trip, let's talk. I can do this 2 ways.
Jan wants to know how many beers you can fit on the GS.
Oh yeah. Well, it's got 2 so here you go, Jan. Here's what they did. So they took the BMW and BMW designers. Okay, they were building this beautiful adventure bike. And like Popeye, they're all sitting around and they get done with the whole bike. And they're about their 4th glass of whiskey at this time. And they go, we need some fucking luggage for that. And they went down to the Home Depot and they bought 2 big fucking metal boxes and they got some bolts and a drill and said, there you go.
That's it.
There's the fucking bike. And so we always bust balls with it. Because it's like, they're beautiful bikes. And then I always say that, I'm like, can you not curve them or make it? You threw 2 toolboxes on the fucking bike. Like, that's just my personal thing. And I'll still do it because if I ever adventure ride, because that's what they have. But I'm like, look at that bike. It's like a beautiful adventure bike, and they did that. It's like, you got to think they were drinking. Like, what the fuck? Can't they round them or something?
Looks like if they were insulated, though, they would be good coolers.
They would be really good beer
you could do that. There's guys that have done that.
I'm sure nobody's ever done that.
You could throw your skill saw, DeWalt skill saw, and your fucking reciprocating saw, and all kinds of shit.
It does get ridiculous. They make some big ones for him. So,
ooh, let's see. I'm just going through everybody's still up, it looks like. All right. So anyways, that's my joke that I always say. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
I know what you mean.
God, they do that on a lot of different adventure bikes. They just throw square boxes on the back of them. That must be the thing to do. Yeah. So we can do this 2 ways is what I was getting at is, do we want to get into gear now, or should we start getting into the trip and then talk about what kind of gear?
I'd say we get into the trip and see what type of, I don't know. That is kind of tough as to what type of gear you would want to pack for a trip like.
Because I want to do this in all-encompass.
Let's kind of maybe even intermix a little bit as we could talk about where he's at and hey, because he camps.
Okay,
sometimes he camps.
That's a question I have on here. That's what I mean. Where do we go with this?
Yeah, so it's kind of, hey, what the hell? How do you pack for this? You go up and what do you need for this camp? So I mean,
So should we do that now, or should we do it as we?
I think as we go, kind of intermix it.
I like it. Okay, thanks, Popeye. I needed a breaker on that. So let's just get into, at least we've covered the bikes and what kind of bikes if you're looking to get into adventure riding. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Some of you may not be interested in adventure riding ever, and that's fine too. But I know that a lot of the audience does both and or wants to do both or has done adventure riding before. And I know a lot of what we're going to talk about, Popeye, we will get to that because we were talking about riding the Alcan Highway on Harleys.
Yep.
And we'll get to that because you've ridden it and you can tell us whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, that kind of stuff. So I think we got a lot of ways to go. So let's get into it was I wrote notes down, a 10-day trip.
A 14-day trip. 14 days, right.
Back in August 2018, generally speaking, and we'll get, honestly, I had to look up because, I generally get the Northwest Territories and the Yukon Territory. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I had to dive in a little bit and look at the map. So you rode into some of the Yukon Territory and the Alcan Highway. That's interesting what Larry said, which I caught on the message there is, packing a gun. If you ferry in and ferry out, you can literally, because you're skipping Canada, right? No. No, you're not skipping Canada. I mean, how does that work? I don't get that because if you're in Canada and you have a gun, if you ferry in, you're okay.
No,
because you didn't come across. I don't know.
No, you can.
Did you hear the message?
I did hear the message.
So what is? Yeah.
Well, it's great advice if you're riding Alaska only. So a majority of our trip, we were in Alaska for a very small portion of it, and bringing a gun was not an option whether we ferried or not, unless we were going to just stay in Alaska.
Thank you for cleaning that up.
Right.
So, I get you. So if you were just going to stay over on Alaska, that side of it.
You want to get into the Yukon Territories and British Columbia and those, you are not bringing a firearm with you. It's just...
The Queen does not abide.
No, the Queen doesn't like guns.
No.
It doesn't matter if you're LEO or not. Even if you're in uniform, I've heard stories that they will not allow uniforms.
Oh, that's funny because we've trained with guys in this area that are from Canada and SWAT guys from up there, and they say that it is easier to get their guns into our country than it is to take their own guns back to Canada with
I've
them.
heard that at firearms conferences. The Canadians say that. You're right. You're right.
That's the last thing you want to do is tell them you're a cop when you're trying to cross the border.
No. We went to Canada, remember?
We didn't get hassled too bad.
No, because we didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We didn't say,
they wanted to
coming back in, I'll tell them. Coming back in, I'll tell them because they're always curious, but going in, nope.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some comments real quick and then we'll get into it.
Sure.
Have you guys ever used spike tires for one of your rides? Have you guys ever used spike tires for one of your rides?
Probably the winter. You get into the snow up there or really shitty mud or something. And we can talk about that later as you get up further if you got...
Well, I would just say that, we chose this time early August for a reason because we did a lot of research on the time frame up there, and I certainly wouldn't want to be riding somewhere where I needed spiked tires.
Okay.
I just think that would take away from the fun, just having to worry about whether or not I was going to go down on ice. So,
have you ever heard about a ride? I don't know if it's in Washington.
This in chat?
Might be. Yeah, they were talking about it.
Who's asking?
No. I'm asking this one. Where a buddy of mine was telling me they had BMW adventure riders and they would head up. I can't remember if it was towards Mount Rainier or what, but they would go. I think it was like a first snowfall, and they would go as far as they could until the first guy dumped his bike in the snow.
Wow.
And that's where they made camp for the night.
Oh, I haven't heard that before. No, that's pretty interesting. Though. It's expensive. That sounds like an expensive trip, though.
Hopefully they weren't going too fast and you got dumped. So, because me and LD had kind of looked at the possibility of taking the ferry up and how that would work with guns and whatnot. But same thing like you're saying, if you touch down in Canada at all, obviously the Queen is going to take the guns and you're no longer allowed to have them because Canada doesn't like guns.
Right.
So actually, we know a lot of Canadians that love guns. Just Canada as a country doesn't like them.
That's true. We do.
All our patrons love guns.
That's a good point. Good thing for cleaning that one up.
The leaders. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, like I said, the Queen would. Some of our patrons would take them from us if can't have that here.
The Queen just needs
that from you.
The Queen just needs a good slap. That's all she needs. Slap on the rear. Yeah, that's funny. All right, so we're going to the trip. So 14 days. And how did you ride up there? Start us out, and we're just going to go through this thing because you live down here in Washington State, as the East Coasters say it.
So my buddy lives over in Marysville, and he went over to see his brother. His brother works at WSU, so we actually met up in Coeur d'Alene, and so we met at Coeur d'Alene and started heading north on 95 to Highway 2, where we actually went to Libby, Montana, and then started heading north from there.
Went through Libby last year, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
Going north.
I think so. I think that's right.
Going north from Libby, Montana. There's a great ride. If anybody's ever thinking about it or haven't, maybe you've talked about it on one of the podcasts, but the road that goes north up there along Lake Koocanusa. It is Koocanusa.
Oh, okay, different one.
Yeah, it's an amazing ride. The roads are so wide, and they are not like Stevens Pass, where some of the roads are extremely sharp turns. They're just made for motorcycle riding. It's just beautiful roads all along that.
Describe this area again, so guys can reference it. Where's it at?
Okay, so if you go right north from Libby, Montana, and go north, and I believe it actually starts in Montana, and then it cuts into, you cross the border, and then it continues on. It continues up along this Lake Koocanusa. It's just an amazing, beautiful ride along this humongous lake. And it's just great riding. The road is amazing. It's immaculate. It's paved.
So Harley riders could run it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I mean, it's just a great, nice paved road. They really maintain the roads up in Canada really well. And it's just amazing how well they maintain those roads.
I agree. When we were
at least in through British Columbia, all the way up north, and then you get into the Yukon, it gets a little bit rough. I mean, when you're crossing the border into the Yukon territories, because the roads take a little bit of a turn.
Okay.
And so we went all the way up past Lake Koocanusa and went up towards Lake Columbia, which is kind of interesting. That's where the Columbia River originates, and I'd never even thought about a lake where the Columbia River originates. We've got the Columbia running right through the area where Popeye and I work, and it was kind of neat. And a big old sign there that says that this is where the Columbia River originates.
And so it's like when you cross up in Revelstoke. Remember, we crossed up there in a little tiny thing, and it's kind of funny to see the Columbia when it's really small.
Yeah, right.
Very true. Yeah.
And so that first night, again, it's a beautiful ride. We did about 540 miles that first day.
And we do that on Harleys easy.
Just gets the oil warmed up.
Right, yeah. We actually do, but those are long days. They're long days on that bike too, aren't they?
It's a long day no matter what. That's a long ride. Yeah.
Either, no matter what, I had to bust your balls. But either way, we did some days like that this year on our Midwest trip.
So on a side note, I was laughing because on the last podcast release, which there'll be a couple more in between now, but you guys are talking about motors school stuff. And how you guys went on a bike ride up in northern Idaho.
Yes.
For only, a couple of hours. And pretty soon they're standing up and moving around. I'm watching
Adam. They had ants in their pants, all the guys, and I'm just laughing up next to him.
I'm watching Adam in my side mirror just on the way down here because it's like 2.5 hours and he's standing up.
Is he doing the Adventure Rider stand? Because every time I pass Adventure Riders on the highway, they're standing because their ass hurts and we're all kicked back with our feet out.
Could be for a different reason too, though.
Here we go. Yeah, right down the toilet again.
Right down the toilet. This is getting good, dude. We do have to do this real quick. Hey, Bikeaholics, searching for new and exciting motorcycle products? Zero 3D has just what you're looking for. Check out their wide variety of innovative products for Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Zero 3D's got your back. With chrome, lighting, and comfort products, they got black stuff too now, guys. No modifying, cutting, grinding, or welding for an easy installation. That's right. That means more time riding, less time working on it, guys. These guys are bikers, care about bikers just like you. Zero 3D has a design team with over 40 years experience with a passion for design and innovation. They pride themselves. Great customer service. They really do. If you got a question, get in touch with them via email, sales@zero3d.com. Give them a call, 715-808-0027. Zero 3D is distributed in the United States by Direct Specialties, in Europe by Parts Europe and Zodiac, and in Asia by Twin Art. Check at your local Harley dealership and ask for Zero Parts. Better yet, help support us right here. Head over to lawabidingbiker.com/store. Check out our full line of Zero 3D products. That's right. Okay, so we get done right there, and let's just move right into pick it up where you're going from there. And we talked about days. So your 500, 540, is that one of your longer days, or is that a standard day? I mean, when you're planning, because we plan our trips a certain way, because obviously we're on the road,
right?
But there's a lot of similarities when you're planning a trip like this. We get some days where we ride those very long rides, and then other days, just because where we want to get to is maybe a little bit shorter. Is that also the case in adventure riding when you're planning from your experience?
My buddy planned this trip out, and I think the idea for us was to actually push hard the first few days to try to really get there. Just like we were talking prior to us coming into the podcast here, it's like to get anywhere, you gotta you got to ride through 500 to 700 miles before you get to something new or anything like that. So we pushed pretty hard those first couple of days, just to get to areas where we could slow down and enjoy the trip later when we get to those areas that we really want to ride and see and take our time.
And kind of what he's referring to there is before we walked into the studio, we were saying, we've all these roads within kind of the tri-state area.
Right.
All of us have ridden them 10 times, and it'd be nice just to be able to be placed down in, in Colorado highway, on the $1 Million Highway or something, or you're like up where you're talking about, just be plopped into a place. But unfortunately, you have to ride to get there.
Exactly.
At least you don't have to, but.
Yeah, I agree. Because there's a lot of boringness getting to where you want to go. We were talking about that a little bit.
My buddy and I talked about sometimes just loading the bikes into the trailer and then just driving nonstop. And one of us sleeps, one of us, drives, and try to get somewhere and then go ride, just because it's comfortable. We could ride, get there, and get through the boring stuff and have more time somewhere.
I don't even know if it's not boring. It's just that you've ridden it so many times that it's just
it's still better than working.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, without a doubt.
Even if it's boring,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
10 times out of 10, no doubt.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm just looking at chat real quick. Sure is Moose 3971 says, sure is a long day, but I would go on a 500 plus now if work would let me and leave. Yeah, no doubt. And school would let me do my work later. Yeah, no shit, dude. Good. All right. So, so that's good. You're kind of like us. We bomb down the first couple days and then sometimes slow down a little bit because we're doing the $1 Million Highway, which you want to spend time on and enjoy and stuff like that. So, okay. All right. Move forward from there.
Yeah. So, the first day, we ended up stopping at Radium Hot Springs in British Columbia, and just a kind of little podunk town. Their big claim to fame is the hot springs. It seems like you got to go inside of a mountain to get into. I didn't see it until the next day when we were riding out of town, but when we were riding out, there was a bunch of people there that were actually going inside the mountain. They actually had stairs and everything, and they were going into the hot springs. It was actually really, really cool to see it.
Now, something we've talked about in the past, let me clarify here for all your days. You don't know where you're going to end up, right?
Right.
Really?
No, because they're not riding with a big group. It's only two of them.
Right.
And so they can get a hotel.
Mm-hmm. So when you don't plan ahead for hotels and stuff.
When you show up with a big group of us, you're not going to get a damn hotel. If you show up with 20 people or whatever, and you're not going to get all the hotel rooms. There's just two of them, and they just get a twin bed, and they're good to go.
Mm-hmm. Good call, Popeye.
Exactly right. We just don't know when.
I don't think you caught that.
You didn't.
Oh, good.
I was waiting for it. I was just going to let it go in so you could listen to it later.
Trying to be professional here, and this guy takes it in the toilet every fucking time.
There's no professional here.
Every fucking time, this guy. No, but... we don't really necessarily know where we're going to stop because, if we're feeling fresh and sometimes we'll look at the map and go, we don't want to make a reservation somewhere because we'll get somewhere and like, shit, we got here sooner than we wanted to. So let's push through and take our chance. So the nice thing about what we did is we had camping gear. So if we did not, or got in between some place that there was no hotel or something like that, we could camp.
So you got emergency backup. That's good information.
Yeah, that's what we were set to go and camp. Anytime. We were set to camp 14 nights if we needed to.
Now, how many nights do you guys generally like to go? Like if you're going on this trip, is there maybe like you only want to go 2 or 3 days of camping and then want to get into a hotel?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's
pushing it.
Yeah, because it's always nice to get into a nice bed, be refreshed, and last thing you want to do when you get up from a ride or at the end of a long day is set up camp, and the last thing you want to do before you ride is to break down camp.
Mm-hmm.
So my buddy says, I'd be okay if we found motels, 14 nights out of this whole deal.
At least he's honest.
Yeah.
We're the same way. You ride hard, you want to sleep hard.
You do.
It's short nights, it's 5-hour nights, and you want to get a shower, hit a mattress because you got a long day ahead of you.
Absolutely.
That can do rider fatigue. I know some guys can't, but when you're only getting 5 hours of sleep a night and now you're sleeping in a tent, if you're not sleeping, I don't even sleep well in a hotel, let alone.
Right.
And I know that there's a lot of hardcore guys or younger guys, but that can be dangerous too, rider fatigue.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll catch up with you, especially on a long ride like that. It'll catch up with you before you know it. And we knew we were going to be doing some camping because part of the trip as we get into here off the off-road portion of we knew we were where we were headed, so we were going to take advantage of hotels when we had them.
So basically, to sum this up, because I appreciate this, I love this stuff. That's why we could go 3 episodes. I'm fascinated because I want to learn about it. You get up in the morning and that's when when we leave for a trip on a road trip, we have it all planned in Ride Planner, GPS. We know where we're going each day. We know how many miles each day. What you're telling me Do you do any of that, or you're just like, fuck it, we'll just figure it out in the morning? And because like, how do you know you're going this days and we can get to where we actually want to go?
We know the route.
Okay.
We know the route. We just don't know where we're going to stop on that route, just because.
But we have 10 days.
Yes.
Or 14 days. And if we ride, at least need to ride X amount of miles a day to get to that point. Okay.
Yeah. My
so there's some general...
My
Is
buddy
this
had
over whiskey when you're doing this?
Sometimes, yeah. No, my buddy had the idea that said, no matter how long we take, whether we do 700 miles in one day or in 130 the next, we know that we have to turn around by this date and to get back home.
Thank you.
So we go that way. So some days it snuck up on us and we were like, shoot, we need to push hard today. Or we would say, hey, we're ahead of schedule here. So maybe we could take our time and maybe not have such a long ride. And so, we kind of know the route we're going. We just don't know where we're going to stop.
That's kind of exciting.
It is.
I like that.
It is
it's
exciting.
almost, that kind of excites me to think that it's a little more, of course, we're going with a big group, so either way, you have to be a lot more
You wouldn't be able to
organized.
do it with our group.
You wouldn't be able to do it with our group, but just two guys, and which brings up a question. God, I can go so many ways with this, but yeah, so that makes sense. Planning for each day and knowing how far you can get and all that kind of stuff. Awesome, man.
So Jan makes a good point here. How many days out how many days do you think you camped out of this thing?
We actually only camped twice, to believe it or not.
So where I'm
Nicely
going
done.
with his comment here is that he was saying that camping is getting so damn expensive in Canada, it's almost just as worthwhile to stay at a hotel.
Well, I'll tell you, the areas that we went, as we get into where we went, you don't pay to camp.
You just camp out.
This is out in the sticks. We were like off the grid, and as we get to that, I'm going to explain.
Okay.
There's a lot of history to the area where we went, and you won't pay for the provincial parks up there are just like our state parks, and they are starting to add up. And if you were going to just stay in campgrounds. The nice thing about getting up into those areas out there is that find a road that leads off the highway there and set up camp. There's just nobody out there. We got very, very much off the grid where we didn't see people for a long time.
I got some questions about that coming up, but God, dude, this is great. Like I say, I can go at different ways.
So interesting.
See what I mean? It goes downhill.
Yeah.
It starts great.
Exactly.
It starts great, and then it just goes downhill. All right. Speaking of the middle of nowhere, let me ask this. Why did you camp 2 nights? Is it because you got fucked out of a hotel because you showed up and there was no rooms, or what? Or
no.
You just
Actually, as we get further along into this trip,
or is there only 2 nights that you spoon out of the trip?
That's right.
Popeye, that's for you.
Well, the one of the things that my buddy really, when he was researching going up here, there's a road that's called the Canal Road, and it's out of Johnson's Crossing up in the Yukon, and it's a road that basically during World War II. It was built from 1942 to 1944 to provide access to Norman Wells in the Northwest Territories into the for the oil, with the threat of the Japanese attacking the U.S. So the U.S. government actually went up there and built this road, and the road is 246 miles, and it's all off road, and it cuts through. I mean, it cuts across the Yukon Territory.
What's it
to
called?
the Northwest
Does that have a
Territory.
name?
Yeah, it's the Canal Road.
Canal. You said that.
Canol. And it starts at Johnson's Crossing right off the Alcan. So if you're on the Alcan Highway, you're going to get to a place called Johnson's Crossing, and it's a dirt road. It's all off road, and so it's broken up into the South Canal Road, and then you get to Campbell Highway, which is another dirt road, and then just beyond that is a place called Ross River, and it's a First Nation or a Native American village.
They're not Native Americans up there.
Yeah, they're called First Nation is what they call them up in
First
Canada.
Nation,
First
okay.
Nation, yeah. And
They're not in America. They're in Canada.
Exactly.
They're in what?
They're in Canada.
Right, you're right. Good point. Looking at the map here, it does appear that way, but I don't know for sure, dude. This is new to me.
So anyway, the Canal Road was built for the U.S. government went up there and they built this and to build a pipeline from the where was it, for Norman Wells and the Northwest Territories, the oil fields. And so they built this whole entire road.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is very fascinating. From 42 to 44, they built it, and they never needed to end up using it. But this road is still somewhat maintained from Johnson's Crossing on the Alcan, and you go up again, and it is some of the most beautiful off-road. And we're talking about adventure riding. This is my buddy and I can't stop talking about it.
This is heaven of adventure riding.
We are already talking about wanting to go back to that location because it is just an amazing, beautiful scenery, and there is nobody there. And the real adventure riding starts once you get across the river. Once you have to take this ferry across, which is really it's just a cable ferry. We pull up there. There's a kid that's sleeping he's sleeping.
Shit.
We have to wake him up to let him know we want to get on. We get on this little ferry, we cross the river, and now we're on the North Knoll Road. And the North Knoll Road is, this
is day 2, right?
No. We kind of skipped ahead here.
And that's fine. Yeah.
So
okay.
we kind of skipped ahead because I don't know what time we've got here, but we kind of got to this point.
We're definitely doing 2 episodes.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now.
I can go back, but this is
what
the
day
adventure
you on?
part. Well, at that point, we've skipped a few days. I mean, I guess we could go back.
We can
if you
digress
like.
a little bit.
Yeah, we can go back and talk. Just give you an idea because you guys want to talk Alcan, and I want to tell you where we jumped on the Alcan. So
I don't even know about the Alcan. Just kind of what roads you took a little bit, where you kind of ended up. Even if we just kind of graze over them of what.
Right, and then
what roads you took or where what cities.
Right, I appreciate that. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And I got a question for you before you do that. Okay.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Now, we love our patrons. We love our patron members.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get to know you better. We want to get you benefits. We want you to see these broadcasts and all that. But we never balk at a flat donation. If that's how you want to support us, we understand and we appreciate it. lawabidingbiker.com/donate. We want to thank Dean Pokius, Kip Kyler of Olympia, Washington, and Scott Grayu of Lincoln, Nebraska. Thank you guys for your kind donations. Puts a little fuel in the Law Abiding Biker gas tank so we can keep this thing heading on down the road. GPS is what I want to ask about. So you guys have on your adventure bikes, I know this seems probably a lot of guys are going to laugh at me, but I've never done this, so I'm not afraid to ask a question.
Yep.
I assume you use GPS. My second question, maybe I'm wrong there. And part 2 of that question is it accurate? Like these roads and shit are like they on GPS? Do you ever worry about a Y in the road and going, hell, fuck, we don't even know where we are anymore, and there's no 911 and there's no phones and we're out of gas? I mean, tell me about this, because that's one of the things that worries me about that, because I'm not good at planning that kind of stuff. Like,
so the BMW, we have the BMW GPS system, which works.
Is it built into the dash?
It is not built in, but I can take it on and off.
So it's external.
It's external. And it does work well, but I will tell you this: when you start getting into the areas up north, there's times when it seems to have lost signal for whatever reason. There would be areas we'd be in there, you would just lose signal. And but for the most part, it worked extremely well. But you're talking about the 911 situations. One of the things that I did purchase right before we left was a Spot. I don't know if you guys have talked about the Spot.
That's the one that follows you and tracks your trip and all that.
No, and I know you don't even know where that is, Lee. Two for you. So he needs a GPS to find that too.
But he's getting a little more comfortable.
I got the Pendleton going here. So. No, but I'm sorry. Your question about the GPS.
Yeah. So you said you have the Spot. We got into G Spot, but we just mean the Spot. That's what follows. That follows your route and tracks you at all times. And it probably, if you go down or something, it can send. A lot of apps do that, but I think the Spot does. The
Spot was really cool. I bought it just before before I left, and the Spot is really cool because you can have pre-programmed messages sent out. So no matter where you're at in the world, I can push the button, the OK button, and it sends a message to I think up to 10 people.
I heard of this.
Yeah, it sends up to 10 people that says, "Hey, I'm okay." You can have another message that says
it shows your location too.
Shows
right?
your location
your last
on that.
location.
Yeah, it actually sends you to Google Maps and it shows exactly where you're at.
Nice.
And what's cool about it also is that, you can switch it over to the satellite image and you can actually see an actual photograph of where you're at.
Okay.
Unless you get up into the Northern Territories where it gets to a point where there's just no photographs of those areas. We tried it.
No shit.
And it just goes to map, and then it's just like you can't, there's no photos. You just, for whatever reason.
That's kind of unsettling.
Yeah.
You're like in no man, like you're in nowhere.
We are in like we saw like two people in this area, and what's exciting and scary at the same time is that once we got into that area in the North Canal Road, there literally was like, we saw a pair of grizzly hunters, which I'll get into a little bit later. But if you went down there or you had an issue with the bike or somebody got hurt. This is what
I'm wondering.
I mean, the nice thing about the spot is that it will send a location to, and you pay a little extra for that, and it will send the helicopters and everybody into that location. Thank goodness we never had to use it, but it is a nice.
That's probably an extra fee if that happens.
It's like an extra. Well, yeah, I don't know what the cost would be.
This is the same spot like people are using in our area when we get these hikers.
Yes.
And they go up and they press it and
yes.
it goes out and we have to send search and rescue out to find their ass.
Yes, you have a few seconds to cancel it, and you can't really hit it accidentally. But the nice thing is that if you hit that, they're coming, and it's connected to some sort of a big search and rescue.
And it's via satellite, so you always have a
satellite.
Signal.
Via satellite, so there's always a signal there, and so you pay a little extra for it, and I think you actually get to pay for the insurance in the event that they actually do have to come, and it's a few extra dollars a month, and but I guess it kind of pays for it if you ever needed to have someone come out there.
To have something like that.
You would be a fool to buy it and never do that if you're going to go into the places we were going.
Right.
I mean, if you were going around the United States where there's a town 100 miles away or something, but when you get up into the sticks, out into the Yukon and the Northwest Territories, you will not see another person, and you probably you'll be pretty screwed. You'd be screwed if you didn't have that.
Good call. So there you go. That's a extra tip for this podcast if you're going to do that. The GPS part of it, not the spot, but the GPS are like, is it accurate? Like
it was
turn
very
here
accurate
on these roads. Some of these roads, we're going to digress a little bit, but on the roads
Sure.
you've talked about so far, could you get screwed and make a wrong turn and GPS would screw you?
The thing about getting into those roads up there is it is not like a highway of roads. You pretty much have one road that's going from point A to point B.
Right. Okay.
And so there's not a lot of places where you could get lost necessarily. It's going from point A to point B to the Northwest Territories. You know that there might be a road or two that probably dead ends somewhere, but so we weren't really worried about getting lost.
Okay.
But the GPS worked pretty well up there. And because there was just one road for the GPS to follow. And
right.
And so, we were never worried about that.
This road you were saying was built in 42 to 44 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a dirt road.
It is.
All these other roads that you're on, for the most part, I would assume, were paved.
Well, it depends on where you're at. So that's,
we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that because
nice.
In the summertime, it's the only time they can really work on those highways. And so there is several, like some of the roads that you went on were being worked on, and it was straight gravel.
That's what we always used to say up there there's two seasons. There's winter and there's construction season.
Exactly. 100% right there. It's just, there will be just miles and miles of gravel. You'd go from pavement to gravel. And not just like hard packed gravel. It's like riding on marbles. Right. And so, you could take a Harley everywhere we went, with the exception of like the Canal Road. Mm-hmm. We went all the way up, like I said, to Dawson City, but there were some areas there that would not be very fun to ride on with a Harley.
That's good to know.
I would most definitely check the highway websites to find out, what areas are under major construction, because we rode through so many construction zones through there, and some of those roads were extremely hazardous as far as,
if you had street tires.
Right. Yeah. If you had street tires on there, even with the tires we had, you get onto some of that gravel on the highway and then you get behind trucks and kicking rocks up and things like that. And it just, becomes dusty, and they try to keep it watered down, but it was pretty warm up there during that time, all the way north. It was pretty warm.
That's why you picked
I'm sure
August,
we'll get
right?
into some of that north stuff, but it's interesting. They'll tear entire sections of road up and leave it like shit. But hell, we dealt with that this summer
You're right.
back in the Midwest. They'd have 2 lanes of highway going each way, and they'd have, one side of the highway, the 2 lanes completely torn up, and for miles and miles and miles. And I don't know why they can't just do a small section of it. And then,
Right.
Go to the
I
next
know.
section.
And that's one thing that Larry said on his message too about construction.
There's a lot of
check into
construction
that
up there in
heavy.
the summer. And a lot of that is the further north you get, you start dealing with the permafrost.
Yes.
No, right.
And so it really can screw a road up. So you get all that raising and lowering of the road and it just cracks it and then it goes to shit. So they're constantly having to fix it.
And one thing I would like to add to, I know that people would be interested in knowing is, along with the roads up in Canada, one of the things that I noticed is the tall grass that's alongside the highway. The reason I'm sharing this is you start getting up there, you start getting into animal territory as well.
Right.
And right in front of us, this grass, it's kind of wavy grass, probably 3 or 4 foot tall. Right in front of us, there was a truck hauling a trailer. And we're cruising down the road about 70 miles an hour, and right in front of us, a big black bear comes out of that grass, and you couldn't tell until it just shot right out of the grass. And he shot straight out, went straight towards the trailer, and basically skid to a halt and stopped in the road. And we are like coming up on the bear, and we're trying to slow down. And as we slowed down, the bear suddenly just darted across the road. But I'd heard of people hitting bears before on the road, but it is a real like danger to be to keep your eye open for as a motorcyclist, because you get a grizzly or a black bear that comes running out of there, or you can't tell until it's too late. They're hunkered down on that grass, and that thing shot out, and there was just no warning. There was no warning. And that could be pretty devastating. You survive the crash, but then you wake up next to a pissed off bear or something like that.
I don't think the spot's going to save you on that one.
Exactly.
I don't think the old spot button's going to save you on that one. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But
that's some of the risks you take. It's
you do. Yeah.
Your wife know about those risks?
I told her about that, but I try not to tell her too much.
Right.
About
it's easy.
stuff.
It's all well paved, honey. There's every mile there's a hotel and a gas
Motel 6,
station.
every area.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
Let's talk about that real quick. And I do want to get into more of a progressive of his trip, but I think, like you said, we're just going to ask questions as we go.
Yeah.
How do you account? Did you have any problems here's my main question, because I've got a bunch. We use a software, a lot of us, called Ride Planner, where we can plan our rides and we can upload it, and then it takes us on our trip. When you guys are getting up in the morning, are you just have your GPSs on and mentally, we need to stay on this road, or are you using some kind of software to plan it and go, okay, this is going to tell me turn by turn? Or are you just like, I know we need to stay on this road for 500 miles, and you just make sure on your GPS that you're staying on that road? Explain that process.
Yeah. So at night, in the evening time, we were always kind of, planning for the next day and whatnot. And so when we would get going, and during the day, there were certain towns on the map. We were basically basing the town off of how big it was in font on the map, if that makes sense.
Wow.
So it was like, I didn't know, how big of a town necessarily it was, and when we did have reception.
So you can't do like we do. Like, I look up the population of a town to see real quick the night before, and I'm curious about the town. You don't even have cell signals, so you can't really Google stuff.
Well, we do if we knew exactly where we were going to stay, and like I'd mentioned before, we just didn't know where we were going to stay. I will say real quick on that it was amazing what kind of service that we had in Canada.
Really?
I get outside of Wenatchee and I lose signal service. I mean, Popeye will tell you, it's like the phone will not work, and we're like, 2 minutes outside of Wenatchee. And
do you have Verizon?
T-Mobile, so
get Verizon.
But it's but for up in Canada, you're out in the sticks and you're like, there's no way I'm going to have service here. And you have service. I mean, it was just amazing. I don't know if that's just a safety thing that they do up there, but it was like you had service in places you would have never in 1,000 years thought you had service. And
that's good to know. I thought once you got up there, you're done for like 10 days with your phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And while we're on that topic, make sure that your phone is clicked over and that you check with your phone service beforehand, because if you do not do that, you will find a nice bill. My buddy, he found a nice bill when he came home, and fortunately they hooked him up. What's that? Rogers.
That's one of the big cell phone companies out there. You actually run off a lot of their towers, but your company, if you pay that $10, I do that when we went up to Canada. I switched it over and said, hey, I'm going to be in Canada for 10 days.
Definitely
give me the plan.
Because that trip will be twice the price that you thought you were going to be paying if you're not careful. So that definitely, while we were just talking about that. But
watching porn in Canada is expensive.
It is very
expensive. On the plan. Canadian porn is a whole different thing, man.
Right. So but like you were saying, it's like we didn't really, we were basically looking at the map and gauging the size of the town off of the font on the map, and we would get into places, and sometimes we would find a motel, and sometimes we would have to find kind of push our way through to find something else. But it's just we just didn't really do that much into, because we would have had to look at a lot of towns.
Mentally, I mean, it's not like our trips where you're taking lots of turns. You're more like, we know we got to go here, and when we get to this highway, we're turning. We know that'll run us into the hotel, and we'll figure it out when we get there. Yep. So it's a little bit less planning.
Exactly. We know there is very few roads that are going north, south, east, and west up there, and you get on the Alcan, and you're very limited on where you're going to turn. You're going to be on the Alcan for a long time, and in the roads that are off of it, it's very simple planning, I would say. Very simple planning, as opposed to going to, if you're going to ride from here to Colorado or something like that, you better...
You're taking a lot of turns. Yeah, you kind of got to have it planned.
So to jump back here, I want to go kind of let the audience know as to say what kind of route you took here. Your first day you went up to this Springs place. What was the name of that town?
Yeah, that's called Radium Spring.
Okay, so
Radium Hot Springs.
Radium Hot Springs. And from Radium Hot Springs, you guys went how many miles to your next town?
So 500 miles. We went up to, jumped on the Alcan to, excuse me. Let me back up. We did camp another night, and that was outside of Prince George, BC.
Okay, I've been there.
Yeah, and so outside of Prince George is a place called Bear Lake. And so to back up from there, we actually went up through the Icefields Parkway through to Jasper, which if anybody listening hasn't ridden that is a must do. The Icefields Parkway.
Is that the Icefields up there by just outside of Calgary? Or is that a different area?
So you would, from Calgary.
Or not Calgary, excuse me. What's the name of that friggin' tourist trap? Banff.
There you go. Yeah, so it's going to be west of Banff, and you're going to head up Icefields Parkway. You put that on your list of must-see places. The road is amazing.
Paved?
Yes.
Baker was up there this spring.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Mike was up there.
He was. Oh.
Yeah, and he says it's incredible.
It is. It's amazing. If you go north on Icefields Parkway, you're going to see, glaciers.
Icefields?
Yes, okay. Icefields Parkway.
We rode right by it when we came back from Calgary.
Dang. It's we just didn't have enough time.
That's a must. Highway 93 it's the Icefields Parkway, and it goes north to Jasper. And now Jasper is like, for those in Washington that have been there, anybody that's like Leavenworth on steroids. It's just a huge tourist area. It's beautiful.
Jasper, you said?
In Jasper, and that's at the north end of the Icefields Parkway. And so you get there, and there's just hotels and breweries, and it's a neat town if that's what you're into. It's just
we're not into breweries.
No, yeah, no, not on this podcast, right?
Just water, just water.
Yeah, exactly. So that's north to Jasper is where we went through, and then we just got north of Prince George. Now, Prince George is just another big city. We got into town, and it was. We actually talked to one of the Mounties up there and asked if he could recommend any places. And we were basically in an area that he says, you guys don't want to be staying around this area. So,
really?
Yeah.
Why?
So we, just kind of a rough area. It
really?
just, there wasn't a lot of motel. It looked like downtown Seattle in some areas, some of those areas you just wouldn't want to keep your bike. He was telling us don't.
Kind of like Kelowna, remember? Just a little Seattle, drug users. And
exactly.
I don't mean it. Kelowna's cool, but but it had some cool stuff. But it had every big city problem.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, homeless and drug users on the corners, and just mentals, and
So he talked us out of trying to find a motel there. So we actually we rode through, and by this time it was getting fairly late, and we headed north from Prince George, and out of Prince George we went to a place called Bear Lake, and it's a provincial park up in BC, and that was a nice little park. It's got everybody with a trailer and a generator around you, but you're up in BC and you're surrounded by people blasting music and this and that. But it was a nice little place to call it for a night.
So night 3 is Bear Lake.
That was night 2, and so the next morning we jumped up and we actually got talked out of going to the mile 0 for the Alcan, and did a more scenic route along a river that actually
What is that mile 0?
What is it?
If you know, I can look it up if you want.
I'm trying to remember if you could take me up there. Can you
should I look up mile 0 or just scroll on the map?
If you just scroll up, I'll be able to say it. Fort St. John. So, Dawson Creek. Yeah, there it is. So Dawson Creek is like mile 1 or 0, I think they call it, for the Alcan Highway.
Let's do this. And I love this. So we're gonna patrons right now. You guys in the private group, I hope you're enjoying this. I'm really into this conversation. Like, I'm just soaking it in. I'm going to listen this back after it releases, because I'm going to learn even more, because I'm multitasking here. I will ask you, patrons, please be honest. we are going to, in a minute, I have a question. I want to know what, we can look it up too. A lot of people don't know what the Alcan Highway is. Sure. It seems obvious, but I didn't know anything about it until I started talking to Popeye years ago. I had never looked into it. So we'll talk about that a little bit because it sounds like we're kind of going there.
Yes.
I want to know, patron members, and I get it. You guys are busy and you have busy lives. If enough of you want us to stay live, we will do part 2 live. If you all, I get it. If you got dinner and you got to bag out, just tell us, be honest, and we'll go down live and we'll do the second part just recorded and we'll pump it out in podcast format later. So as we're finishing up here, let me know in the chat if you guys, we'll just take it. If you guys did want us to stay live, we'll take a little 5-minute intermission with some music and then we'll come back and we'll have to do the intro and outro and all that kind of stuff again, just like we normally do. So let us know in the chat. We won't be offended either way. So why don't you explain if you know, otherwise I can look it up and get a Wikipedia. It's up to you.
Oh yeah. You probably want to do the Wikipedia there first, the history on that.
All right, let's do Alcan Highway. And because Wikipedia is not always right, but for this, I'm sure it will be close. So
you go to mile 0, is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking up the Alaska Highway, known as the Alaskan Highway, Alaskan Canadian Highway, or the Alcan Highway, was constructed during World War II for the purpose of connecting the contiguous United States and Alaska. All right. So across Canada, basically. So, all right, I'm just soaking that in. It begins at the junction with several Canadian highways in Dawson Creek, in BC, and runs to Delta Junction, Alaska via Whitehorse, Yukon, whatever that means. Completed in 1942 at a length of approximately 1,700 miles. Wow, it's huge. As of 2012, it is 1,387 miles long. The difference in distance is due to the constant reconstruction of the highway, which has rerouted and straightened out numerous sections. The highway was opened to the public in 1948. Legendary over many decades of being a rough, challenging drive, the highway is now paved over its entire length. Its composed highways are British Columbia Highway 97, Yukon Highway 1, and Alaska Route 2. An information system of historic mileposts developed over the years to denote major stopping points. Delta Junction at the end of the highway makes reference to its location at historic milepost 1422. It is at this point that the Alaska Highway meets the Richardson Highway, which continues 96 miles. Anyways, that's probably enough on that. So it gives the listeners, and honestly, I just had never looked into that. And so when you and Rob had mentioned years ago, the Alcan Highway, I started, I'm like, oh, okay. So it was new to me. So very interesting. Is that a good summation?
Oh, absolutely. When I was a kid, I could remember seeing cars from Alaska come down and they were just caked in dirt. And it was because that the Alcan Highway was not paved. A very small portion of it was paved. So when folks would drive up there, it was all really hard packed dirt and through permafrost and pretty gnarly stuff.
Okay. Very good to know. So what are we getting in Patron here?
We're about 50-50.
Are we 50-50?
Some guys got to run and some guys say keep going.
What do you say? What should we do? Should we do an intermission and keep going live with part 2?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Doesn't matter. We're on. I'm here. MooseNet 3970. I'm here to watch. Go for it. Round 2. Keep the camera close up to Popeye and I'll stay, says Ross Tomes. Ross Tomes is always good for it. I say keep going, Michael Clark. Okay, that's good enough. We will keep going. We're, appreciate all the information. I think
sure
you realize how much questions you were worried about one. Yeah, we used to do that. Now we're realized
listening to one listener that had slight interest on it is what I was thinking.
Right. Yeah, totally, dude. All right. We are going to take it out, guys, and then we'll be back with part 2. We appreciate you guys being here for sure. Thank you so much. If you're listening in podcast format later, of course, this will be out. We hope it's interesting. That was part 1 of 2 of a 2-part series on adventure riding and special guest in the house who just went on an adventure ride trip all about the Yukon Territories, the Alcan Highway. We're going to get deeper. We kind of did a lead up in this episode. We're going to get into some of the more meat potatoes. I'm interested, Popeye, in a little bit more of the camping, a little bit more of the gear, a little bit more of the riding, because you stated that there was only one portion of the trip started with a K part of the highway where we wouldn't have been able to ride with the hardest.
Canal Road.
Canal Road. So there's a lot of things that Harley riders, if they're interested in going up there, it sounds like they could do, just avoid some highways. So I've got still tips. We want to talk about, in part 2, I want to talk about maintenance. I want to talk about breakdowns and what tools and, what do you guys do in that scenario, and I do want to talk a little bit more about the animals and how many of those you came in contact with. And I want to talk about people. You talked about some grizzly hunters. I'm interested in that because here you are and the queen doesn't like guns and you have no gun, but yet the grizzly hunters have guns and you're in the middle of nowhere and all that kind of stuff. So, I do want to talk a little bit more about fuel and fuel stops. So it's going to be, episode 2 is going to be right into it, jam-packed. So you will definitely...
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We hope it's informational. We hope it's entertaining. We hope it is infotaining.
Oh, nicely done, dude. Taking it back. Oh, yeah, give you a clap for that is what we want to do. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Real quick call to action, guys. That is right. Don't forget, guys, email us if you want to contact us. Larry Baxter there left a voicemail, lawabidingbiker.com/contact. There's a voicemail button over there. You can leave it from your computer, microphone from anywhere in the world. It is free, and you can see we saved that for about 5 years, but we're getting to it. So we really appreciate those. They help spur the content. It may make it. That's right. Rate us, of course. If you can't become a patron, you can't donate, you can't shop in the store, we get it. Times can get tough. At least do us a favor wherever you're listening, in iTunes or Stitcher or anything. Give us a 5-star rating. Let us know what you think. It helps bump us up in the rankings so more bikers around the world can find us and join this thing we call the Biker Revolution. Thanks for listening. See you in part 2.